Hebrews 4 and verse 3 and 4. For we which have believed do enter into rest. As he said, as I have sworn in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest, although the works were finished from the foundation of the world. For he spake in a certain place of the seventh day on this wise, and God did rest the seventh day from all his works. The probative value of this statement is heightened by the fact that the author is not arguing for the creation origin of the Sabbath, but rather he takes it for granted to explain God's ultimate purpose for his people. Thus, in Hebrews 4, the creation origin of the Sabbath day is not only accepted, but is also presented as the basis for understanding God's ultimate purpose for his people. Hebrews 4 and 4. The conclusion that emerges from the three texts briefly considered in this chapter is that the New Testament agrees with the Old Testament in viewing the Sabbath as a creation institution intended for mankind. Historically, some have argued for the Mosaic origin of the Sabbath. Palestinian rabbis, for example, at the time when Hellenistic forces were pressing for the radical abandonment of the Jewish religion, thought that the Sabbath was given by Moses exclusively to Israel. This exclusive and nationalistic view of the Sabbath was inspired by the necessity to preserve a Jewish identity, particularly at the critical time of Antiochus Epiphanes. This notion of the Mosaic origin and exclusive Jewish nature of the Sabbath was later adopted by some of the early fathers, by radical groups of the Reformation, and more recently by modern dispensationalists. On the other hand, the view of the creation origin of the Sabbath can historically be found in oldest and major Jewish traditions. Among the many Sunday keepers who have sought to justify Sunday as the Christian Sabbath by appealing to the creation origin of the later and among Seventh-day Sabbath keepers. The preponderant historical support for the creation origin of the Sabbath is not the criterion for accepting this view as truth. The validity of a biblical doctrine is not determined by historical majority views. The only claim we can rightfully make is that belief in the creation Sabbath is deeply rooted in both Scripture and history. Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 4. For he spake in a certain place of the seventh day on this wise, and God did rest the seventh day from all his works.